The first sign that something was off came on one of those slow, quiet mornings, the kind you only get when you actually feel safe in your own house. You know what I mean? So I'm heading down to my private little beach with a mug of coffee. Sun's not even high yet. And what do I see? A whole family, 6 people deep, unfolding lawn chairs and laying out towels like they owned the place. At first, I just stood there. It took me a second to process it. Like, am I dreaming this? Then the dad, maybe 45, salt and pepper beard, waves at me like we're old buddies and says, "Hey, the HOA said it's open access now. We paid for a permit. Now, for the record, my name's Warren Ellers. I've lived on this chunk of coastal heaven for 12 years, and that beach? It's in my deed. It's literally called out on the title, flagged in the HOA charter as non-HOA land." So hearing this guy talk about permits, yeah, my blood pressure spiked. But I kept it civil, showed him the property markers, explained the situation. The family apologized, packed up, and left. No drama, just a little confusion on their end. Still, as soon as they were gone, I marched back up the path, shaking with a mix of adrenaline and annoyance, grabbed the HOA bylaws out of the file drawer, and double-checked. There it was in black and white. My property. No HOA jurisdiction. Which only made what happened next more insane. Because see, in our neighborhood, we have this self-appointed queen bee, Gloria Pendle, the HOA president, professional clipboard holder, and drama manufacturer. The next day, there she was, set up in the park gazebo with a table, a stack of forms, and a sign that read, "Exclusive community beach access. Summer permits available." I mean, seriously? So I walk up, keeping my cool. "Gloria, what do you think you're doing?" She barely glances up. "The board voted to open the beach for the community. Beautification. Spirit. You know, Warren, you should be giving back instead of being selfish." She says this like she's explaining how to separate recycling. Except she's actually trying to charge people $100 to sit on land that isn't hers. So I pointed out, politely but firmly, that the beach is on my deed, not the HOA's. She shrugs and tells me if I have a problem, take it up with the board. Oh, I was going to do exactly that. But first, I started documenting every little thing, photos, recordings, even GPS coordinates off the county assessor's site, just to be airtight. That weekend, I spotted something new, a row of rental umbrellas, and, I kid you not, 2 bright blue portable toilets set up right on my sand. That was the last straw. I tried the HOA's emergency number, got nothing, so I called the Coast Guard. Yeah, the actual Coast Guard. Why? Because the beach sits near a protected marine zone, and the rules about unlicensed commercial activity are no joke. The officer on the phone didn't hesitate. He said they'd send someone out. And sure enough, just past noon, a patrol boat pulled up, and an officer in uniform stepped onto the beach, clipboard in hand. From my deck, I watched him work. He asked a couple teens manning the umbrella stand about a business license. They pointed right at Gloria, who was basking under a canopy like she was running a garden club. When he asked for her permits, she launched into some speech about community recreation and voluntary donations. He shut her down cold. There's signage listing prices, and we have statements confirming payment. That's commercial activity, on a protected shoreline, without authorization. Gloria tried to point the finger at me, claiming I was sabotaging the HOA. But I handed the officer all my documentation, deeds, bylaws, maps, timestamped photos. Within 20 minutes, the entire circus was cleared off the beach. Gloria's volunteers were tripping over themselves trying to pack up, and the teens running the stand couldn't even look me in the eye. The officers took everything, photos, records, my full packet of evidence. I figured that would be it. But of course, nothing's ever that simple. 2 days later, I find a letter, no envelope, just crumpled and stuffed in my mailbox, claiming I owed the HOA $500 for obstructing community initiatives. I mean, come on. I actually laughed, then called Denise Marlowe, my attorney. She's got the sharpest legal mind I know, and even she whistled when I read her the letter. "That's not just bogus," she said. "That's borderline extortion. Give me everything you've got." So I gave her everything, photos, emails, recordings, even video of the Coast Guard scene. Denise worked fast. By the next week, she'd filed a formal complaint with the state HOA Oversight Commission. The real twist? A guy named Rick Dallin from the state called me up, said they'd been watching our HOA for a while. My evidence, he said, was the keystone they needed. That Friday, a white SUV with state plates rolled into the neighborhood, and suddenly, investigators were knocking on doors, not just about the beach, but about money, transparency, and the way the HOA had been run for years. People started talking. Turns out, no one, not even the board, had seen a full set of financials in 2 decades. Carla from down the street admitted she'd asked for a statement once and got shut down. Retired couples, single parents, longtime residents, everybody had a story. Then Denise forwarded me a copy of a subpoena issued to the board, demanding all records, emails, and financials from the past 5 years. Gloria disappeared for a day and a half. The next morning, her vice president, Greer, showed up on my porch looking pale and nervous. I didn't know she was selling permits, he told me. We never voted on any of this. She was moving money, issuing fines, making threats. We just signed off on what she put in front of us. He wanted to testify, and he wasn't the only one. By noon, the beach permit signs had been ripped down, and more residents started coming forward with stories: unapproved fines, unexplained dues, threats over fence heights. The emergency HOA meeting was set for Thursday night in the clubhouse. The place was packed, standing room only. Denise was there, calm and ready. She told me quietly, "The prosecutor's office is getting involved. It's not just about the beach anymore. There's wire fraud, embezzlement, even forged signatures on permit docs. Over 30 grand missing." She used a second set of books. As Greer began the meeting, slides popped up on a projector showing fake invoices, payments to ghost companies, and checks made out to Gloria's maiden name. Halfway through, a detective in a Navy jacket stepped in, flashed a badge, and announced that they had a warrant for Gloria's arrest. She wasn't there. Someone said she'd skipped town, but the place erupted. The board suspended all operations on the spot, froze dues and fines, and Denise announced that until things were resolved, nobody owed the HOA a dime. For the first time, people in that room didn't just look relieved, they looked awake. The aftermath? Well, the neighborhood was buzzing. A local reporter set up outside the clubhouse, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk. Carla gave me a nod that felt different, real, grateful, not that fake smile we'd all put on before. Greer called later to say the board had resigned. In their place, a committee formed, including a retired accountant, a city planner, and, get this, the same dad who'd tried to use my beach, all to rewrite the bylaws from scratch. I made sure they added a clause to keep private property out of HOA hands, no exceptions. Within a week, the signs were gone, the beach was quiet again, just waves, gulls, and the occasional kid skipping stones. For the first time in ages, it felt like home. But the real kicker? 2 weeks later, a plain gray sedan showed up. Out stepped a DA investigator. He and 2 uniformed officers searched Gloria's old house. Denise called me that afternoon. They found a handwritten ledger, she said. Turns out, she'd been running off-book cash schemes on a dozen properties, greenways, storage sheds, even a widow's boat slip. She forged quitclaim deeds, too. Fake notaries, fake sales. She was trying to rewrite ownership. When the temporary committee held its first public forum, the park was full, folding chairs, neighbors, people actually asking questions instead of complaining. Nain, a retired IRS auditor, took over as treasurer and promised every dollar paid under false pretenses would be refunded. When someone asked about protecting private property, I took the mic and said, "There's no HOA clause that overrides a deed. Don't let anyone tell you different." Carla stood up and added, "Letting things slide only made it worse." Afterward, Nain told me they'd found a false wall in Gloria's closet hiding a second ledger and a map with pins on every property she thought she could reclaim. Mine was labeled Keystone. She'd planned to steamroll everyone, starting with my beach. Not long after, a letter arrived from the DA's office, listing all the charges: wire fraud, conspiracy, falsification, attempted unlawful seizure. Gloria had been caught in Arizona, living under a fake name, suitcase full of cash, burner phones, property docs. Bail denied. And just like that, the neighborhood started to breathe again. The potluck board went up in the clubhouse. The enforcement office shut down. Greer, now just another neighbor, dropped by with my restitution check and a notarized clause that locked my property outside HOA reach for good. A day or two later, I saw the same family from the beginning, walking their dog. They tried to avoid me, but I waved them over. You ever get that beach day you were promised? I asked. The dad shook his head. Well, if you ever want to visit, just ask. No permit, no clipboard, just neighbors. He smiled, the dog wagged, and for once, there was nothing left to fight about. That evening, I wandered down to the water alone. No strangers, no stands, just the tide and the gulls. After all the chaos, the lies, the fraud, the drama, the beach was still here, right where it belonged. And for now, so was I. So here's my question. Was I right to fight this hard? Or did I just stir up more trouble than it was worth? What would you have done? I'm dying to hear where you stand. Drop a comment below. Community, justice, property lines. Where's the line for you?